I received a lot of letters over the last couple of years asking my opinion about the current administration in Washington and their possible connection to the New World Order. You know, the neoconservatives who now run the United States are in no way related to the old conservative movement of less taxes and no big government. The neoconservatives and their partners, the religious right, have been completely taken over by the New World Order. Their mission: to use the military might of the United States to dominate the world. This in turn will break the U.S. economy as more and more money is spent on military expansionism. Now, the citizens of the United States will be forced to live in constant fear as government operatives, disguised as foreign terrorists, conduct terrorist operations throughout the country. The conservative administration will declare martial law and abolish all political parties, except for the conservatives. It's happening right now. Just listen to talk radio or read some of the books being released by the conservative mouthpieces. Most glorify the ultra-right movement and denounce the Democrats as treasonous. One author even writes that the Democrats should be taken out and shot. The neoconservatives are telling us exactly what they intend to do to our country and our freedoms. They want to make it so that there is only one legal political party, theirs. The rest, the Democrats, Libertarians, the Greens, any others, will be illegal and treasonous. Well, so much for democracy. Religion as we know it in the United States will also be under attack. The neoconservatives and the religious right want to establish a government-approved religion that all citizens will be forced to belong. All the churches, Catholic, Methodist, Jewish, Muslim, will be declared illegal and treasonous. Religion is the opiate of the masses. Now, I want to make it perfectly clear that at this point, it doesn't matter who is in the White House, Democrat or Republican. They're all under control of the secret government. The current president is a perfect example of a puppet leader. He's controlled from behind the scenes. Bush was deliberately picked to be president because he is slow and easily manipulated. He even thinks that he's making all the decisions. But in reality, he's a puppet on strings. Someone else does his thinking for him. If Bush should ever start to try to think for himself, well, that's what happened to Clinton when he tried to break free of his strings. The secret government knows how to take care of uppity political leaders. Everyone has their weaknesses that can be exploited. With Clinton, it was chubby interns. With Bush, it could be alcohol or cocaine, or both. However, Bush was specifically chosen because of his lack of intelligence and initiative. He's the perfect New World Order leader. They say jump, and Bush asks how high. You know, for years we worried that the New World Order was using the UN to infiltrate the world. But now we know that they have been amongst us all along in the big corporations, especially big oil. They have used their rich, elitist families to gain foothold in the government. And now that they have their tentacles in every major government, intelligence, and military position in this country, they have started their push for global dominance. Iraq is just the beginning. If you think the economy is bad now, just wait. Soon, all available money will be going to feed the monster that will become the global military police force. If you thought the Great Depression of the 1930s was bad, well, you ain't seen nothing yet. We are seeing the beginning right now. Are you better off now than you were during the last administration? Where did all the jobs go? Where did our balanced budget go? Where did our sons and daughters go when they died in Iraq? Where did our freedoms go? The secret government manipulates our political system to retain ultimate control of all citizens. Another method to exert control of the population, and developed as early as the 1930s, is mass mind control. The topic of mind control is elaborate and multi-layered. For the casual reader, it can quickly become numbing, overwhelming the senses and creating a desire to exit the topic. But avoiding this subject is the most foolish thing you could possibly do, since your only chance of surviving this hideous and insidious enslavement agenda, which today threatens virtually all of humanity, is to understand how it functions and to take steps to reduce your chances of being influenced. The plan to create a mind-controlled workers' society has been in place for a long time. The current technology grew out of experiments that the Nazis started before World War II and intensified during the time of the Nazi occupation camps, when an unlimited supply of children and adults were available for experimentation. We've heard about the inhumane medical experiments performed on camp prisoners, but no word ever mentioned by the media or the TV documentaries of the mind control experiments, threatened Orwellian style by cybernetic technology, totally unknown to most people. This technology links the brain of people via implanted microchips to satellites controlled by ground-based supercomputers. The first brain implants were surgically inserted in 1974 in the state of Ohio, and also in Stockholm, Sweden. Brain electrodes were inserted into the skulls of babies in 1946 without the knowledge of their parents. In the 1950s and 60s, electrical implants were inserted into the brains of animals and humans, especially in the United States. During research into behavior modification and brain and body functioning, mind control methods were used in attempts to change human behavior and attitudes. Influencing brain functions became an important goal of military and intelligence services. 30 years ago, brain implants showed up in X-rays, approximately the size of 1 centimeter. Subsequent implants shrunk to the size of a grain of rice. Today they are small enough to be inserted into the neck or back, and also intravenously in different parts of the body during surgical operations, with or without the consent of the subject. It is now almost impossible to detect or remove implants. It is technically possible for every newborn to be injected with a microchip, which could then function to identify the person for the rest of his or her life. Such plans were secretly being discussed in the United States without any public airing of the privacy issues involved. In Sweden, Prime Minister Olof Palme gave permission in 1973 to implant prisoners, and data inspectors ex-General Jan Fries revealed that nursing home patients were implanted in the mid-1980s. Implanted human beings can be followed anywhere. Their brain functions can be remotely monitored by supercomputers and even altered through the changing of frequencies. Guinea pigs in secret experiments have included prisoners, soldiers, mental patients, handicapped children, deaf and blind people, homosexuals, single women, the elderly, school children, and any group of people considered marginal by the elite experimenters. The published experiences of prisoners in Utah State Prison, for example, are shocking to the conscience. Today's microchips operate by means of low-frequency radio waves that can target from a distance. With the help of satellites, the implanted person can be tracked anywhere on the globe. When a microchip is placed in the optical nerve of the eye, it draws neural impulses from the brain that embody the experiences, smells, sights, and voice of the implanted person. Once transferred and stored into a computer, these neural impulses can be projected back to the person's brain by the microchip to be re-experienced a second time. Using an RMS, a land-based computer operator can send electromagnetic messages, encoded as signals, to the nervous system, affecting the target's performances. With RMS, healthy persons can be induced to see hallucinations and to hear voices in their heads. Every thought, reaction, hearing, and visual observation causes a certain neurological potential, spikes and patterns in the brain and its electromagnetic fields, which can now be decoded into thoughts, pictures, and voices. Electromagnetic stimulation can therefore change a person's brainwave and affect muscular activity, causing painful muscular cramps experienced as torture. The NSA's electronic surveillance system can simultaneously follow and handle billions of people. Each of us has a unique bioelectrical resonance frequency in the brain, just as we have unique fingerprints. With electromagnetic frequency, brain stimulation, fully coded, pulsating electromagnetic signals can be sent to the brain, causing the desired voice and visual effects to be experienced by the target. This is a form of electronic warfare. United States astronauts were implanted before they were sent into space so their thoughts could be followed and all of their emotions could be registered 24 hours a day. The Washington Post reported in May 1995 that Prince William of Great Britain was implanted at the age of 12. Thus, if he was ever kidnapped, a radio wave with a specific frequency could be targeted to his microchip. The chip's signal could then be routed through a satellite to the computer screen of police headquarters, where the prince's movements could be followed. He could actually be located anywhere on the globe. The mass media has not reported that an implanted person's privacy vanishes for the rest of his or her life. He or she can be manipulated in many ways, using different frequencies. The secret controller of this experiment can even change a person's emotional life. He can be made aggressive or lethargic. Sexuality can be artificially influenced. Thought signals and subconscious thinking can be read, dreams affected, and even induced, all without the knowledge or consent of the implanted person. A perfect cyber soldier can thus be created. This secret technology has been used by military forces in certain NATO countries since the 1980s without civilian and academic populations having heard anything about it. Thus, little information about such invasive mind control systems is available in professional and academic journals. The NSA's Signals Intelligence Group can remotely monitor information from human brains by decoding the evoked potentials emitted by the brain. Prisoner experimentees in both Gothenburg, Sweden, and Vienna, Austria, have been found to have evident brain lesions. Diminished blood circulation and lack of oxygen in the right temporal frontal lobes result when brain implants were usually operative. A Finnish experimentee experienced brain deterioration and intermittent attacks of unconsciousness due to a lack of oxygen. Mind control techniques can be used for political purposes. The goal of mind controllers today is to induce the targeted persons or groups to act against his or her own convictions and best interest. Zombified individuals can even be programmed to murder and remember nothing of their crime afterwards. Alarming examples of this phenomenon can be found in the United States. This silent war is being conducted against unknowing civilians and soldiers by military and intelligence agencies. Since 1980, electronic stimulation of the brain has been secretly used to control people targeted without their knowledge or consent. An international human rights agreement forbids non-consensual manipulation of human beings, even in prisons, not to speak of civilian populations. In addition to electronic mind control, chemical methods have also been developed.